Hello and welcome to the England B Team podcast, a football podcast brought to you by an Englishman who wasn't good enough to make it as a professional footballer.
And an Irishman who was not good enough to play for England.
My name's Joe and this is my co-host Gareth and we're here to talk about all things football.
Have you been for the last 2 weeks?
Oh, so good.
We just recorded the last episode.
Man. Yeah.
Professionalism, man, we're on top of it.
Look, we just
That's why we don't
so
do topical
motivated.
things
we
as
just
well.
love to fly things out. But no, I think we'll get to a stage where, cause we got back after Christmas and then I'm travelling again soon. Like, we'll get to some more topical things over the...
I don't, to be fair, I'm a big fan of not
Yeah.
doing topical things. I like just
every now and then we do updates on Leverkusen and Chelsea and stuff, especially towards the end of the season.
Those we care about a lot. And towards the end of the season there will be a lot of content. Touch wood.
Yes.
Please touch wood. If Leverkusen do end up getting towards
and Chelsea
challenging for something, we'll be covering it.
Getting towards top of the league as well.
Yeah, that was my fault for saying that. I dropped the ball on that one when I said Chelsea might win the league.
But it creates good content.
Swing and a miss.
Creates conversation.
It does, yeah.
But also we want to get some guests on. Like, some stuff in the pipeline.
Plans for that, yeah.
Can't share too much just yet.
Kind of forgot about that, yeah.
Hopefully things will work out soon.
Yeah, loads of stuff happening. The rebrand is going... We're taking this podcast to strange new places.
Yes.
Austria isn't the only country we're going to be number one for 2 days.
Old news. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, we dropped down a wee bit as well, actually, in Austria. Yeah. Our Austrian fans have turned on us. Maybe it was the last episode when we mentioned your man.
No.
But we're going to take it to more countries. We've been all right in France for a while. We're like number 30-something in France for a while.
On the England B Team podcast, so come join us.
Right, so...
But yeah, I think speaking of Chelsea and speaking of this shirt...
Oh, yeah.
2005-06 polo shirt.
First year with a new badge.
It is, yeah. Centenary season.
Yeah.
Probably one of the best clubs to talk about this topic. Because today we're going to be talking about football flops.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I feel about the term. I think it's something I want to dive into a bit later in the episode about if the term's overused. Sometimes it sounds a bit harsh.
The context of it as well.
But at the end of the day, there are some transfers of footballers. It doesn't go as you hoped it would.
Wow.
And I think the commonly used, thank you, I can't speak today, is football flops.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's exactly what we're going to. You got anything you want to...
I'd be curious to know, I was just thinking there, because obviously our research is so professional on this podcast that I did this before I hit record, but the actual word flop, but I'm assuming it just means because they flop over.
Yeah.
That's probably it, yeah.
That's
probably nothing
I didn't go down that. That's just your topic,
I'd say that's purely just because it flops over.
Yeah.
It's meant to be standing up straight.
Football failures, football disappointments.
I've got a few words for them to tell you the truth, especially Chelsea ones. But no, go ahead.
Yeah, so I wanted to
take research here.
Take a look at why footballers fail. What are the reasons behind it? What actually makes a football flop, and is the term overused? And then some high profile flops, but not some really obvious ones. So like not a Lukaku for someone. Like you can touch on Lukaku, but everyone knows that Lukaku at Chelsea didn't work out.
Yeah,
but everyone knows that.
That's a classic. Yeah,
we'll go into some more niche ones.
Yeah,
say. Something for the niche football fans. That's a good one.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, I'm gonna get that up.
But yeah, if you've got nothing else to add, then I think I'll dive into why.
Go ahead, please. Yeah.
Why footballers fail.
This is all your magic.
So going into my research here, and my research is actually about Liverpool's former director of research, Ian Graham. So shout out to Ian. He put forward a theory a couple of years ago as to why football transfers don't work out. So he gave 6 key reasons. Number 1, the player isn't as good as you thought. Makes sense.
Yeah, classic. Yeah,
Mudryk, maybe.
Man, I think everything on that list applies to Mudryk, but
the player doesn't fit your style.
Mudryk.
The player is played out of position.
No, he plays in his position. He's just shite.
No, we're not. We're lovers here. We're not going to hate.
Sorry, Miguel. If you start scoring,
players played out of position. I don't know. Some people said Havertz. I liked Havertz.
But where is Havertz's position? That's a thing. Yeah. That's a prime example, actually.
The manager doesn't like the player.
Yeah.
I think it's happened a few times over the years, especially at a club where the sporting director signs the players, like United or someone.
Yeah, and they just don't get on with the manager. Yeah, it's classic.
The player has an injury and or personal issues. Yeah. Again, very common.
Personal issues also including, I'm assuming, things like a potential cultural change, moving to a new country,
of course.
Settling with your family. These things play a massive role.
This is why something else I want to go into later about is the term overused, because there needs to be patience with new signings.
There really does.
Especially when they're kids.
Man,
it's not even okay, we talk about Mudryk, but he's just turned 23, but he's only just played his 100th career league game.
Yeah.
He moved to England. Of course, what's going on in his home country as well. Like,
yeah, to be fair, I was a bit harsh on him there.
Yeah. Of course, it's not working out as we hoped, and it may not.
Yeah.
But we see. He has 8 years to do it, so.
yeah.
But yeah, the last.
There's another reason why players can flop, by the way, because they're overpaid for 8 years and then know they're going to get their wage. Yeah.
Winston Bogart.
To be fair, I'm not having to dig at the players. See, if you paid me that kind of money for 8 years, I would be I'd never be training again. 8 years contract? Nah, you can pay me an out, boy.
Yeah.
So
you're more motivated for the podcast than you are to be a footballer, right?
Yeah, because we have our contracts are 5 years and 4 years.
True,
yeah.
But
see the ways we pay ourselves here.
But yeah, the last like key point was there's a better player already in the squad.
Yeah.
Again, understandable.
Classic, yeah.
And yeah, someone might say, okay, I'm 90% sure that each of these 6 individual factors won't be an issue.
Yeah.
But even so I'm reading this, by the way, it's like not my maths. Those minor degrees of uncertainty will still only add up to a 53% chance of the transfer working out, because it's 90% of each factor.
Yeah.
0.9 times 0.9. 0.9 times 6, it makes 53%.
There you are. I'll take your word for that, but yeah.
Maths.
Yeah.
So you've got data in this podcast as well.
You did check it in the calculator, didn't you?
No.
If someone nobody here, none of our listeners know how to do that. 0.9 times 6.
55.4, so about 54%.
Yeah.
So of course there's many key reasons why a transfer wouldn't work out.
Yeah.
And even if one reason, okay, that player's perfect, he's perfect for the squad, it's going to work out. He hasn't got injuries, he's going to work out. He fits our style, it's going to work out. Even so, if they all come together,
yeah,
it's still.
Well, we know football's a low scoring game, so big moments can totally influence the way you view everything. So one bad game can totally change.
I think one thing I also didn't mention as well is the price of players. Does their price tag also?
Would there be that's the definition? Well, for pressure, yes, 1,000%. Yeah. How could it not?
So if you look at the top 20 transfers of all time, how many fails and what category would they go into?
Ooh.
Coutinho.
Fail.
But like, what category would he be? Like, wasn't as good as you thought? Didn't fit the style at Barcelona, maybe.
Played out of position a wee bit as well.
Maybe the manager didn't like the player. Dembele also at Barcelona.
Same issues, yeah.
Yeah. João Felix didn't fit the style at Atletico.
No.
But also, I think there's also
definitely didn't. Personal issues.
I also think the manager didn't really like the player.
Yeah.
Because Simeone
Hazard, the next one.
Hazard was injury, personal issues.
And I think also that was a personal thing. I don't think people knew how to look after Eden.
Yeah. Lukaku again. Players as good as you thought, maybe. Pogba.
All of the above.
Yeah. Anthony.
So many £80 million, didn't he?
Barcelona players here, Chelsea players, and United players. Maguire 25th.
Yeah.
Whose defence has done okay.
To be honest, I wouldn't say he's a flop, Harry Maguire. Like, I don't jump on. It's like Harry Maguire's
overpriced.
A couple of solid seasons. Hasn't obviously injured now, but looked all right this season. Done great for England. I don't think a flop is. I think a flop's unfair.
And there's also other transfers in that category up for debate, like Neymar at PSG.
True.
For his price, okay, he was an amazing footballer, but didn't win as much as they thought.
Yeah, well, he was brought in to win the Champions League, essentially.
Yeah, exactly, and didn't happen. Griezmann at Barcelona again.
I love Antoine Griezmann as
He's so good. He wasn't that bad at Barcelona, but he
wasn't the same.
He was in Messi's shadow.
Yeah.
And him and Messi are similar kind of players.
Yeah, and I feel like they didn't appreciate Griezmann for what he was. Like, he's so great
good,
back at Atletico now.
And if you're a French connection, you must love him.
He's great at France. They love him over there. And he's a cool lad as well.
Yeah. And then Enzo Fernandez at Chelsea now, Casado at Chelsea now. Both £200 million midfielders. But these expensive transfers can work out. Look at Mbappe at PSG, Bellingham at Madrid. They can work out.
It's early for those two lads, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what actually makes a football flop?
Yeah, go for it.
I'd ask you, what do you think? Like, is it only expensive players who didn't live up to expectations? Is it only because, for example, what if a player didn't score enough goals?
It doesn't have to be expensive, I suppose, either, because you can take... Like, we were talking briefly before this about if we're going to find some Leverkusen flops. Not a huge amount, to be totally fair. Because they don't spend money, and they're very careful.
Budget, maybe.
Well, but I take someone like Callum Hudson-Odoi.
Yeah.
Obviously didn't cost. He was on a loan. Yeah. I think it's pretty safe to call Callum a flop at Leverkusen.
But I guess it's also a flop because you had a plan for that player, and you didn't achieve your goals because that player didn't
And we all we take a Hudson-Odoi. I think we all expected him to come into the team last year, be a starter regularly.
Yeah, and if he was, then maybe he could have been the difference against Roma last season, for example.
Or
not putting all that pressure on him, but like.
So in that sense, he's a flop, but not for the money.
Yeah.
I think for the money, if we're talking about Leverkusen, you would take someone like Karen Demirbay, who cost 32 million, played all right, but 32 million is not that much money in modern football. But in relation to how much Leverkusen spend, that's their record transfer. Yeah. So money, yes, but it's always relevant, isn't it?
And for example, is a player a flop? Okay, didn't score enough goals, but they won trophies. So for example, Fernando Torres at Chelsea, was he a flop?
That's a big one, yeah. Because you sort of think, was he worth it all just for that one goal against Barcelona?
Yeah, and he also won the FA Cup. He won us the Europa League the season after.
True. True.
Okay, didn't score as many goals as you'd expect from a striker or what his quality was before, but then he came in and won trophies. I'm sure there's loads of Chelsea players like that.
That's a good one. Yeah. Oh, well, if we're going to talk about Chelsea at some point specifically, I would love to dive into the many flops Chelsea have had. Yeah.
And also, do you think the word flops overused?
Yeah, 100%.
So my example here was players being written off too quickly. So Jack Grealish, for example.
Man,
he came in for 100 million quid. And I think the first few weeks, or the first few months, people were saying, he's not worth this.
Well, he's one of the key players now of a treble winning side. So
yeah, exactly.
That's it on every single
level. It worked out, yeah. I don't think anyone else, other players that written off too quickly.
One that really comes to mind for me, because it was a big transfer at the time, was Didier Drogba.
True, yeah,
of course. First year at Chelsea, really dived
First couple of years, yeah. Even the fans were starting to tell him. Yeah.
Jose wasn't very happy with him in the early days either. It took a while for Drogba to settle. He was big money. Hernan Crespo, when he came to Chelsea as well, was a big transfer fee. He did all right, but
we could have done this episode just on Chelsea flops, but we wanted to be
we really don't want to do that. Plus, we've got funnier stories than Chelsea flops.
Yeah, but yeah. So I think the concept of football flop is a tricky one because, like I say, you don't want to be categorizing players based on this. But at the end of the day, footballers not all transfers work out.
No,
and not only transfers. I guess also you look at the youth players as well. Like youth players who had high expectations.
Many of them, yeah.
Also again at Chelsea, Josh McEachran, do you remember him?
Oh, I do, yeah.
He was tipped to be like, not the next Lampard, but the next like Chelsea central midfielder.
A lot of
could have been the captain. Well. Of course, you had Declan Rice, wasn't a flop at Chelsea, but he was let go. That's probably more of a flop on Chelsea's side, letting him go.
Yeah, we're seeing a common denominator here with all these flops, aren't we? It's Chelsea that are the problem.
Dominic Solanke. Yeah. He went to Championship. Went to Liverpool, didn't score much. Yeah,
did great at Chelsea. Obviously, De Bruyne and Salah also there.
Yeah. So
you know what? Let's move.
I think it's not only the fans who write players off too quickly, but it's also the clubs.
It is, yeah.
And it takes a little bit of patience.
Usually,
and save a bit of money because instead of us selling De Bruyne for, was it like 20 million?
Like 15 quid, yeah.
And then he gets bought by even 60 million, we sign Enzo Fernandez for 100 million.
Yeah.
Different eras, but De Bruyne is still going now.
Yeah, but the one that always annoys me is Nathan Ake, man. Nathan Ake, we let him go for nothing, and then he's back to City now.
Yeah.
He's worked his way right back up and went above us again.
Yep.
And that was a player that was free.
Yeah, I mean, there's loads of players that are free though.
So yeah, flop. It's a weird word. I don't really know how to think about it. But
yeah, I'd like to do some more research into why football's failed. I want to hear from you guys as well. Like, what do you think a football flop is?
Also, I'm a big fan of humanizing footballers as well.
Yeah,
I think that's something that we don't do enough. Like, it's very easy for me and you to sit here in my kitchen stammering on about Mikhailo Mudryk, but like, who are we to say that?
Yeah.
Like, that's part of the fun of football, but they are young lads.
Exactly.
Like, I'm 31 now, man. Like, if I was a striker for Chelsea, I'd be at my peak now. I'd be at my best, and I'm not. Haven't got a game yet for Chelsea.
One day.
It's like, I'm older than most of the lads that play football out there, so I think taking that into consideration is very important as well. They're kids a lot of the time. Like, when they arrive at 18, 19, and they come into these massive contracts, and there's so much pressure on them and so much media on them, and you're like, man, you're 18. If I got that kind of contract when I was 18, so I was paying me 20 grand a week when I was 18, I'd be dead.
Yeah.
I'd be dead. Man, it's hard for kids. So I think humanising football is an incredibly important part of it as well.
So too.
Before we jump into it. So anyway, go ahead.
So that's kind of the end of my theory. Anything you want to add? Or give us some examples.
So
you've got
flops.
A flop here.
I've got two funny ones here. One, I'll go for this one first.
Okay.
So I don't know how much people outside of sort of Scottish football and Irish football, I'd be familiar with him. But there was a guy called Nacho Novo, Spanish international. I don't think he ever actually played for Spain. Where's he from? Ferrol in Spain. Where's Ferrol? Do you know?
I'm not sure, but they've got a team in the Segunda Division now.
Yeah. Okay, so Nacho Novo, great player at Rangers back in the day. So he played at Rangers 2004 to 2010, joined from Dundee, not Dundee United, Dundee. At Rangers, he was excellent. He was a proper fan favourite. He played at the same kind of time as Dado Perso was there. So if you remember Dado Perso, that also scored against Chelsea for Monaco in the was it Monaco or Porto? Monaco in the Champions League 2004 semi-final. Dado Perso, Nacho Novo up front. Novo was a great player. He went on, played for a couple of different teams after that. Did all right.
Okay.
But one of the big shocks was towards the end of his career, he came out of retirement. Sorry, excuse me, I got a reminder there. He came out of retirement essentially to go and join Glentoran. So Glentoran are a Northern Irish team from Belfast. One of the big 3 or 4 teams in Belfast football would be Olympic, Glentoran, Cliftonville and Crusaders.
Okay.
Glentoran are a big club, a big history. They have a very, how do I say this? They politically align with Rangers, I would say.
Okay.
Put it that way. Glentoran fans tend to be Rangers fans.
Okay.
That's a good way of saying it. So they're all incredibly excited about Nacho Novo coming through. Now, there was a couple of rumours, which I don't know how much I want to go into the rumours about what happened with Nacho Novo, but I do know it's not in his Wikipedia article.
Where did it not work out at Glentoran?
He was very overweight when he rocked up, and he was on a very big contract, and he didn't train. He still lived in Scotland, commuted over from Scotland just for the games, and was, to be honest, terrible. Absolutely. He did score 3 goals for the Glens, but we were expecting world-class footballer. Like, we were expecting a proper player, and he just wasn't that at the Glens. It was such a massive deal to have a player at that level. This is a guy who played in the Champions League, was a Rangers fan favourite.
Yeah, looks a bit beefy there.
Yeah, he put on the fines, but
here for a good time.
Yeah, and the other one, which we only heard because of our mutual friend, a Scottish fella, a St Mirren fan that we were in the pub with the other day. He told me the story and I couldn't believe it when I googled it. I had never laughed so hard in my life. So if you remember Djemba-Djemba, so good they named him twice.
So good.
Well, he obviously played for United, Villa. Where else did he go? He was at Nantes before. I only really remember him United. He was only at United for 2 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's a bit of a journeyman.
Yeah. So United, Villa, Burnley, Qatar, OB. I don't even know where that is.
I think it's Denmark.
Well done. Hapoel Tel Aviv, Partizan, and then the most shocking one is he went up to Scotland to play 2 games at St Mirren, obviously based just outside of Paisley.
How did it work out?
Oh man, well, it's a big transfer for someone like that to come up, but I think what he was most known for, and when he showed me the picture the other night, I couldn't believe this, when he turned up to sign. Yeah, he wore what? Yes, audio listeners can't see this. You guys can't see it either, but he turned up with one of like the flat caps, like a Peaky Blinders hat, and in his presentation as part of it, he got the new SPL sticker collection book to present alongside his contract in his first photo shoot. He played 2 games, and then that was it. So even for St Mirren, that was a bit of a flop.
Yeah,
that was a bit of a flop.
I can imagine he was on high wages.
Yeah, and 2 games. Yeah, legendary Man United flop, had a forgotten 3-month spell. Are they saying he was a flop at United as well? Because I think that's unfair. Like, he wasn't bad at United.
How much did it cost to join United?
Doesn't actually say.
3.5
million. 3.5 million.
Okay.
Yeah. So, as a possible eventual successor to the 31-year-old Roy Keane.
So in that relation, it was a bit of a flop.
Yeah.
Nice. They're some very niche.
They are niche ones, but I like
Scottish
that kind
League
of stuff.
examples. You know, a bit for everyone.
If any more strike me while you go through your list, I'll let you
know. Feel free to jump in.
This is a good list, actually.
I've got 3 main examples.
2 of these specifically are brilliant.
2 of these are pretty niche. I think one of them, like, when you hear this name, it's kind of like one of the first names you think of, like a football disappointment, especially like from our generation.
Yeah, that's fair.
And you haven't guessed already, is the American Freddy Adu.
Football Manager legend, by the way.
I really remember him from when I was growing up. Like, I used to read Match magazine.
Man, he was everywhere.
And he was always in that, talking about how his kid's going to be unbelievable.
Because he was so young, wasn't he? DC United.
He signed his first contract at 14, DC United, and made his debut for the America national team at 16.
It is only America,
especially
but still.
in those days. I feel like players these days maybe have debuts earlier.
These days people do start a lot earlier.
But back then it was quite a rare thing.
At 16?
Yeah, I don't remember
Man, that's when you were doing your GCSEs. And he's playing for his country.
But yeah, I remembered all the hype around him.
All kinds of rumours of what Premier League club he was going to go to.
Yeah, he had a trial with United.
I know that, and I remember that.
I wasn't sure, it was like, for some reason he couldn't join. I'm not sure because of visa reasons or something, or because he was still studying, I'm not sure, but...
I can't remember what the reason was. I remember Fergie saying he was quite impressed by him.
Yeah, I think so too.
I don't think he was as impressed as we all thought he was going to be.
No.
Because at that time, he genuinely thought, like, a couple of people have billed him the next Pele.
Yeah.
He wasn't quite.
No.
I think that's fair to say.
And after that, he went to Benfica. He claimed he was better than Di Maria at
He
the
did,
time.
that's right, yeah.
Of course, very different careers. And
all this happened early. Like, he went to Benfica young as well.
What is he now?
He's only 34 now.
That's ridiculous. Like,
so he went to Benfica in 2007.
That's crazy.
So he would only have been
4 years there.
18, 19. He only would have been when he went to Benfica.
And then after that, he's a bit of a journeyman. He played in France.
Journeyman is an
Turkey,
understatement. So
South America, Brazil,
Monaco, Belenenses, Aris, Sports Turkey, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Philadelphia Union, Bahia.
It's in Brazil.
Jagodina.
Serbia.
Serbian First
Finland,
League. Cups.
Finland.
And then Kufu 98 in Finland as well. Tampa Bay Rowdies. Man, Americans.
Clubs at Sweden.
Las Vegas Lights, and then Österlen FF, which he didn't play a single game for.
Yeah, so I think that's one of the main football flops people think of. Freddy Adu.
Oh man,
especially from the Championship Manager, Football Manager days. Everyone used to always like most sought after players.
He looks so. He was so fast. The last I heard, he was running a nightclub. Or he was either running a nightclub or doing like nightclub promotion, and it came out in Facebook, and it's a Facebook event. This is when he quit. Not when he quit recently. I didn't know he came out of retirement in 2021 to not play a game for this team, but when he first stopped,
played 17 games for.
So last time he had 14 games for Las Vegas Lights, which doesn't sound like a real football team. But they're in the USL Championship.
Okay, so someone below the MLS, but there's no promotion, obviously.
So he played 14 games there, and I heard he had been I don't know if he ran a nightclub or he was like the promoter for a nightclub for a while. And found out on Facebook when he was still playing football, and the fans were raging. Okay, but that's how quickly his career really went down the path for Freddy Adu. Like even all these teams he's played for, the most he ever got was 35 games.
So many young players though, but this one was super high profile because obviously signing your first contract at 14 is
out of your criteria you put up earlier. What do we think it is that caused all these issues? I don't know enough about Freddy Adu to really comment on it. It did seem like a lot of personal issues.
Yeah, I think so too.
And I think moving over to Europe.
I feel like as well it's a kind of player like. I'm just assuming that it was signed by the club for the fame rather than the manager wanted him.
Also, being American, you're going to sell a lot of shirts.
Yeah, or like the player doesn't fit your style, player isn't as good as you thought.
Yeah.
The difference between youth football and
Freddie Adu, man, what could have been.
But yeah, then moving on to...
There's a good chance he's watching this podcast.
Yeah. Come be a guest, Freddie, you know. We're very keen to talk to you.
I'm not even joking.
Yeah.
All sarcasm aside, Freddie Adu would be like one of my top 5 guests I can get in this podcast. That'd be really cool. That would be incredible to talk to him. Freddie, if you're listening,
join us. But yeah, the next up, going back to Chelsea, I put Shevchenko.
Yeah.
Just because he was 30 million back in those days. I saw him
huge amount of money.
But in fact, he was a Ballon d'Or winner.
He was Shevchenko,
like,
man.
He was the best striker in Europe
so
for so long. Of course, he had that penalty miss against Liverpool in the final. But apart from that, he was unbelievable.
Yeah.
But I think he just lost his legs, I think. And
I do think
in the Premier League.
Out of position maybe a little bit as well. I just feel like
think we signed him at the wrong time.
Yeah.
A bit like Torres maybe. They're past their best.
Yeah, and there was a lot of pressure to come into a new league.
Also, I think Abramovich really wanted him for years. I think he was like, even if he was shit, he would have always been like, okay, I've got to get him.
Yeah, that was a huge target. And for the profile of the club, it was huge. I got a jersey with him on the back.
Nice.
As soon as we signed.
He scored in his first game.
He did, that's right.
In a Community Shield.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. No, but man, and do you know what? There's one thing about him that did cause it to go wrong that wasn't on your list. He wore number 7.
True.
A cursed jersey at Chelsea for many a year until
Sterling.
Yeah, Sterling now. Ramirez on Kante sort of fixed the issues, but for a long time.
I actually texted my brother saying how good Ramirez was.
Ramirez is great.
He was also he fixed the number 7. A good example. His first season, everyone thought, oh my god, who is this? Like, he's not good.
Yeah.
And then he did that goal against City, and everyone's like, okay, this guy is.
But that's
so good.
I think that can play into it.
Was number 7? Was he?
No, Steve Sidwell was number 9.
Okay, was he Mutu?
Before Shevchenko was Mutu. Winston Baharda, man. John Spencer. Didier Deschamps was alright. Manish. Oh my god, man. Manish. He would have been before Sheva then, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he was 2005-6 season.
Yeah, he was just on for loan, wasn't he? Or half a season or something. Yeah, so Chelsea had a real curse with a number 7. in that sort of recent history. And I think that does play in your mind a little bit as well. You know, I've got number 7, it's Shevchenko. He should wear number 7.
Number 9 shirt of Chelsea now as well.
Man, it was cursed for years.
Yeah. Who's number 9 now? Do we have a number 9?
That's a really good point. It was Lukaku last year.
I don't think we do.
We had a couple of stinkers. Like Steve said, well, Khalid Boularouz replaced him at number 9 there for a while.
Had it for a bit.
Franco De Santo, man. Yeah, Chelsea's number 9 was not good either.
Had it, yeah.
Matthias Kesman, I had a bit of a soft spot for. I kind of like Matthias Kesman.
Okay.
I like because he signed at the same time as Ian Robin did. Oh yeah, Ian Robin and Kesman both signed at the same time, and we had that whole because when they played a PSV together, wasn't it Batman and Robin? It was Kesman and Robin. They used to bring out the Batman mask to celebrate, but we never saw that because I think Kesman scored twice for us in his first season. He scored a penalty against Newcastle, I want to say.
Yeah, he scored a couple against Norwich.
I know the cheek of him to score a Panenka after
not
not scoring for 7 months.
Well. And he scored in the Carabao Cup final, Carlon Cup final as well against Liverpool.
He did, yeah.
A scrappy goal on the goal line.
Yeah. He wasn't a great player to be fair.
There
was a rumour that he became a monk, but I don't think it's true. There was a long rumour for a while.
Told me that as well.
But I don't think he did become a monk.
Okay.
So go ahead. Who's next?
So my last example was again another not expensive one. But again, another one of those like really famous. People say a YouTube footballer. It's Kerlon.
See, when you told me this name the other day, it just opened up a memory box, man.
I mean, if you
just unlocked something for me.
Can't already tell by the name. Like, it's the guy who used to do the famous seal dribble.
Yeah. So can you describe that? Because people might. This is like early 2000s, I think, isn't it?
I think it's like mid 2006.
And I'd say he's probably the first YouTube celebrity for football for how he played. Because obviously none of us were watching the Brazilian league over here. And he was famous because the seal dribbles where he picked the. I was going
to do an example, but
can you? Are you going to do it now?
Yeah, where's the team available?
My fault, you'd wreck it. He flicked the ball up and he balanced it in like the crook of his nose, between his nose and his forehead, and he would run with it like that.
He'd get absolutely pelted.
He got hammered, man.
Yeah.
And like if he had went to the Premier League, imagine what would have happened if you tried that in the Premier League. Oh. Man, you would have got, but it was so cool. Yeah. I remember the time thinking, please Chelsea, just get him.
Yeah, so in the end he did go to Inter because he kind of joined Chievo.
Kerlon did play in Inter.
I don't think he played a Serie A game. So he joined Chievo on like I think in Italy they still used to have like this co-ownership thing. So Inter couldn't sign him because their non-EU spots were full. So he joined Chievo, but then also belonged to Inter. Something like that. But yeah, defenders hated his skill. Like he'd get pelted,
especially in Italy. And
in the end, he had ridiculous amount of injuries. I think that's kind of.
He only played 16 games for Cruzeiro anyway.
Yeah, never scored.
Man, his senior career, he's only played about 50 games.
Yeah, how old is he now? 36.
He's retired.
He's a coach now, I think, in America.
So he went from Cruzeiro, Inter Milan, and during that he went on loan to Chievo. 4 games, no goals. Ajax 0-0. Paraná. Sounds Spanish, I'm assuming. Brazilian club went back to Brazil.
Below.
And then Fujita, Japanese club, and then Miami Dade. I thought that said Miami Dude. I was going, no way. Miami Dade FC, the Sliema Wanderers from Malta.
Wow.
We got 8 games. He went to Vila Nova in Brazil. Got 3 games. Spartak Trnava, 4 games. And then Spartak Trnava seconds, where he got a game. And in that whole time, he only managed 14 goals in his entire career.
It's a shame. But like I said, he got, I think, because of his skill maybe, or antagonising defenders, but defenders didn't like it. I think he had like 4 knee injuries before he was like 21 or something like that.
It is winding players up though, isn't it?
Yeah, his career faded.
Yeah, apparently it says here, Athletic Mineiro player Diego Coelho struck Kerlon with his elbow and was suspended for 5 matches.
There we go.
Because of the seal dribble. It would wind you up. Would wind you up. But there was a period where we thought, oh my, this is going to be it. This is the guy. This guy's going to transform the way we look and play football.
Yeah. Didn't work out.
Yeah, those are some flops. Yeah. I think when I'm going through it, actually, just quickly, Chelsea flops, there has been so many. I'm not going to go into depth on them, but one of the early ones I remember is a guy called Pierluigi Casaraghi.
Yeah, I remember him.
And Zola kind of insisted that he came. And he was like, yeah, he's got me and him up front. We're going to do it. To be fair, Casaraghi just suffered from really bad injuries. But he was at Chelsea for 4 years. And I think he played 3 games.
I remember
he was number 10.
He started against Blackburn once.
And it was such a shame because Casaraghi came with this huge reputation. I think he came from Lazio. He was going to be the next big thing. And yeah, I think he got 4 games for Chelsea. 4 years. He was there. 10 games.
He
got a goal. So you are. 2 years he was there. Oh, yeah.
Still, so it's 2 full seasons.
Yeah, that was
13 games and 44 goals. 13 goals and 44 games for Italy is a good record.
Winston Baharda.
He must have followed Zola a bit. Then he was at Birmingham assistant.
Oh yeah, him and Zola were like best mates.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Winston Baharda was the other one that came in around that time. I think he came in for a decent bit of money in the 90s. So
his career cut short by a collision with Shaka Hislop.
Oh, speak of the devil. We were just talking about Shaka a minute ago. So yeah, that's where the Chelsea flop started, and then obviously in 2000 to 2010, like one that blows my mind, Ricardo Quaresma played for Chelsea.
Yeah,
Ricardo.
He got voted worst player in Serie A when he joined Inter Milan.
He was terrible.
Yeah, he was also classed as a flop.
But he was capable of some things, and he was an early YouTube combination.
Trivella outside the boot, so
man.
good.
He didn't have a left foot on him, though. That was a problem.
Yeah,
but he wasn't even recently at the not this World Cup.
Still playing now?
World Cup. He was still playing.
It's 40 now. Damn.
Yeah, 2018 World Cup. He was playing for you. He was at Besiktas still. He was still playing for Portugal. Did an alright job at Portugal as well. Like he could play.
Yeah.
But nah, just Deco. I don't know if it's fair to call Deco a flop at Chelsea.
No, I think Deco wasn't.
He wasn't there for long. Like he didn't do much.
Yeah, I think he had a couple of seasons, but yeah,
there was a lot in there. So obviously,
some screamers, but
Shevchenko was not the player we thought he was. Fernando Torres, we've talked about already.
For Chelsea,
Lukaku, we know rightly.
Chelsea's kind of the place for flops,
especially strikers.
Yeah,
man,
attacking players.
Great strikers will come up and be destroyed at Chelsea.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. Flop. It's a hard word to sort of describe.
Yeah, but I think a lot of it at the end of the day comes down to pressure on the players. Yeah, especially young players. I mean, that's why a lot of.
Yeah, we shouldn't be too harsh on these young lads either.
Because like I said, we're lovers on this podcast, so...
I am in amazement. Like, if they just play professional football, they're already incredible. I mean...
Yes.
So, yeah.
But there we go. That's football flops. Let us know.
Yeah, I want to hear some more.
Of your favourite ones. I'm sure there's thousands out there.
Do you know what I would love to hear is actually like a lower league one or your local club or something outside the big five
didn't
leagues.
Work out.
You know, a Nacho Novo, your equivalent of that. I would love to hear those stories. Big name players coming in. That didn't do well. I'd love to hear something right down to the lower level as well.
Let us know.
Someone getting in a game there, like Edgar Davids went quite loud.
Went to Barnet.
Yeah,
he got sent off a few times.
There's another. Is that a flop? Does it count as a flop if it's at Barnet?
It depends how much he's being
One
paid.
of the best players in the world. Those kind of stories I love. So
yeah,
I would love to hear a few more about your flops. Also, what we're very open to at the minute is ideas for episodes. Now,
true.
Is it fair to say there's a bit of a decent listenership to this? Following is maybe the wrong word. Listenership to this podcast. So. Reach out, guys. Let us know,
please.
The next few episodes, I think at some point there will be guests in them.
There will.
I don't know directly how many because we pre-recorded this, but there will be
guests.
There's
good stuff coming. That's the main thing.
Cool guests.
Yeah.
Really interesting guests.
Really
not the kind of ones you get. Not Freddy Adu, but not yet.
One day.
So if anyone has a contact for Freddy Adu, we'd love to get him.
I'd love to get Balak as well. That'd be a great one.
Yeah, we can't afford him.
No.
When we get famous, we'll get Balak on.
Yeah.
What would you ask him?
Why number 13? Or did he always share that?
Rudy Feller was his favourite player.
Oh, okay.
This is the problem. I already know everything about Balak. I can't ask him anything.
You should scare him.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway.
Rudy Feller would be a good one as well. But yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you for doing your research as well. That was a good one.
I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed as well. Do as you usually do. Hit
us up on the socials.
Subscribe.
We need this stuff. The algorithm needs it. And whenever you listen to this, give it a 5-star rating, wherever it is. So Apple, Spotify, blah, 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 blah. 5-star rating. If you're on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe button. I know you're sick of hearing it, but it genuinely helps the podcast so much. And it costs you nothing. Costs you nothing.
Look at this guy begging. Do it.
Yeah, come on.
Make him happy.
Come on. And get Freddy Adu on the podcast.
Yes. Then,
That's us then. Should we get out of here?
Yeah, dinner time.
Beautiful. Right, guys. Cheerio.
Ciao.